So, as talked about previously, we are going to be starting a podcast sort of series. It's not quite like most podcasts, but we are looking and going to be talking to different people throughout the channel, through pretty much anywhere. And the first person is.
Chris from Master Blasters.
He has been one of the sponsors for the channel for a while. You may have seen me mention this place through a couple of different videos. So we are going to be going through a series of 10 questions. First question being, what is it like being a part of the retro market?
It is a fun experience. I like to search, hunt, and finally find the games, toys, videos that shape me, that shape myself. Of course, this allowing me to share the greatest times with other people.
And a lot of people, if you're on this channel, you might know what the retro market is already, as we have played a lot of retro games via the emulation on my Xbox. However, Master Blasters is one of the few places where it has the actual physical consoles, and it's really nice because there is quite a different experience with the controllers, like the actual NES Bone controller or the Square controller of the original NES. Sorry, I mixed those up. I said SNES and NES in reverse. But yeah, the controllers and having them right there, it's an entirely different experience from actually emulating them. Emulation still works for a lot of titles that are harder to find, but being, and seeing the retro market is always really cool. I have always found it fascinating myself as well. Our second question is, what is the strangest experience you have had?
Well, like most of us here in California, we had to deal with junkies. We are dealing with this epidemic of junkies for the last 8-10 years, and now it's actually coming home. They're walking into stores, they don't care who's in it, and of course it's horrible and bad for business.
I can definitely agree with that, and I myself, with the jobs I actually have not seen all that many, but we also have a lot more health regulations in a lot of the places I work at, so a lot of people like that are kind of pushed out. But I also haven't worked till like the latest of hours, which is when you typically see stuff like that. The next question is, what is the best-selling item?
Well, it's kind of sad to say, but it's not my video games. It's actually Pokemon cards or any TCG item related.
Why do you think that is?
It's a thing that exploded back in 2020 during the pandemic. A lot of people on YouTube start showing openings of cards and allowing people to give them value and extraordinary value for a piece of cardboard. Now, kids don't play cards, they don't play the games, they just look and try to collect the most expensive card they can find, which is good for business.
Yeah, I still do play Pokemon. I haven't bought very many Pokemon. The thing I buy the most from Master Blasters is the comics, and then I've bought a couple of my Funkos from them, as I probably showed off. It's been a while since I actually bought them from here, but I got the original Spider-Man. There's a lot of variety over here, and it's really nice to see, but alas, the Pokemon is one of the most popular. Our next question is, what started it all?
That will be my love for video games. I grew up playing Atari, I had a Macintosh when I was probably like 5 or 6, and from there we move on to the Nintendo, and finally, all these new consoles start coming out every 4 to 6 years. So it's just all about video games. They help us. They help us escape from our realities and help us actually with our. They'll help us pretty much meet new people now with the internet, which is online gaming, which I do, which I only do certain times if it's interesting for me.
A lot of what had started with me with gaming was the PlayStation 2 and Wii era. Now, I have talked about this a couple times on the channel, although alas, I don't have the proper equipment to be recording the older consoles, which is why we haven't, done many things. Which is kind of why the Ghost Rider series that I used to do during Halloween was kind of retired in place of a lot of NES monster games, and I do wish I could return to a lot of the more simplistic games, but it is not easy to capture footage of. Just gaming in general is kind of hard for us to capture footage of, which is why we branch out into so many different things. What is your favorite video with Hobgoblin Industries?
Anything with Master Blasters in it.
It's a good answer. Yeah. What do you think of a lot of the modern games?
Those games are amazing. Storylines, graphics, music. Music for me is a must. Sadly, nothing beats a plug and play. As I mentioned earlier, I spent $80 on a new video game last week. It took me 24 hours to download it, and the game is glitchy as it can be. It's honestly a ripoff of an older game, but then again, it has a different story, same concept. And at this point, it's just not sure if they're making games because they love the games, or they're just making games to move a profit quick.
I would honestly argue for the move a profit quick because I have had very few really good experiences with very many games. Other than smaller titles, like we've played the sequel to Shaq Fu on the channel a lot recently. One, due to the whole ratings thing that we've talked about quite a few times on the channel. And we just posted a video all the way back. Well, we talked about it quite a few times. As of the recording of this, I should rephrase. As this is coming out in May, we probably have dropped the concept quite a bit. So, a lot of modern games for me they have too many marketing gimmicks, and I prefer the simplicity of the all the way pretty much up to 360 era, but 360 is kind of when it started. Most people like to joke about the horse armor being the start of everything in Skyrim. But yeah. What is your favorite console out of all these games?
It'll be the Super Nintendo. It has the best games and sometimes the shittiest games. But honestly, it's a revolutionary console, 16 beats. And I grew up with that thing, and I can still just sit down in front of it and play a game and sit there for hours and hours and hours and never get bored. We'll get annoyed because the games are hard as hell. But then again, the experience of just playing that simple game, 4 buttons, maybe 6 buttons, is just an amazing console for me.
My favorite would have to be the PS2. 1, because I grew up with it. 2, because PS2 was where games were getting to the point where they were still advanced, but they weren't getting overly complicated, and they were focusing on the enjoyment aspect of the game rather than being, overly crowded with future monetization or future plans. So, yeah. What do you think of nostalgia baiting?
It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. The main reason why I decided to open this shop is since I collected my old games and I used to pick up every single console I could find at any thrift shop, I decided to allow the public to have access to them. Yeah, they cannot buy them from me at this moment, but at least they can come over and play, feel and get the experience of what it was like for us, older guys, to actually play with these machines. Nostalgia baiting, it's an awful thing, and right now there's a lot of companies, eBay, Amazon, and a big shout out to DK Oldies FU for actually making the market almost impossible for anybody to actually purchase a console. Thank you.
What is the hardest thing to maintain in the shop?
Well, you see, this is a tiny place, 320 square feet of amazingness. There's no floors in this place. I actually had to remove the old nasty vinyl flooring because it used to be a pet grooming salon. Underneath is concrete with glue, and I'm using rocks for the people to come over and walk inside this shop. So the rocks will be the hardest thing to maintain. As you can see now, they're full of stains and they're dirty. And the sad part is they're not cheap. Even though I picked them up at the second half store, they are expensive.
And for our final question, what types of content do you hope to see on the channel in the future?
We like to see you on the street. We like to see you meeting people and asking them questions about anything. A thing called Griffin on the Street. That'll be interesting.
That honestly is kind of half the purpose of this podcast, was so I could get a look at different careers and actually have people talk about them, because a lot of people have been looking and they don't see the hardships of each career, and it may look easy from the outside trying to market different things like a video game. Most people take that for granted to market because it's a video game. You play it, it's colorful, it's fun, but it's, in all honesty, really hard to market a lot of things, and just a lot of smaller difficulties that most people don't think of, and that is part of the reason why I started this. With all that being said, I hope you guys really did enjoy this new take on content, and I hope to be talking to you guys in the future. And as a last reference, Master Blaster's location is 3907 Missouri Flat Road, and come and play some retro games and all that. You guys can probably see the Master Blaster's logo through this whole video, but I just wanted to give one last mention out loud, just in case you're just listening to this as partly intended.